Morning, I'm Sam, and it is very early in the morning, so I'm very croaky. I'm just with these two guys. There's a little waggy tail just there, and there's Ziggy. So I thought I'd share a few thoughts. We're just going to walk a little bit up here, around there, and then just go back down the hill and share some thoughts, because it's been a while. Yeah, I'm not making as many videos lately because I'm just going through a very difficult time, and I don't even know how to really make sense of it. I've not been through anything like this before, not really. You know, I've been on this healing path for probably nearly 10 years now, from the point when I really started to make contact with the desperate anguish of the little boy that was trapped inside me since the difficulty I went through as a child. And so it's been a long journey processing that, finding the pain, giving that little boy a voice, going through a very, very long grieving process, which I'm still going through now. A couple of nights ago I lay in bed and just cried and cried and cried. Just so sorry for all the people I've hurt in my life, of which there are many. I tried to remember as many as I could, but I couldn't. I know that there are more that I couldn't remember. You know, I led an extremely fucked up life. I'm going to get wet here, aren't I? You know, but we have to take responsibility for our actions and start showing up in a truthful way. And if there are parts of our lives, our history, our experiences that we... Hey, leave, come on, go. She's got a deer horn. Come here, porridge, come on, let's go. I've just got to get this off her. 1 second. Hey, come here. Come here. Come here. Good girl. Leave. 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 Thank you. Dangerous. You know, it's paradoxical, really, because to actually be present in the innocence of this moment, we have to let go of the certainty of the stories we've told ourselves all our lives just to protect us from things we didn't want to see, we didn't want to feel, we didn't want to even know about. And so it seems paradoxical, because to actually be present in the innocence of this moment, you have to really be empty. But to be empty, you have to have seen the past clearly, taken responsibility, looked at as much as you can. And, you know, it seems paradoxical because, you know, to be empty, we have to inhabit the past fully. Because otherwise, how we show up in the moment, there's an absence to it. And that absence is all the things that we don't want to look at, we don't want to feel, we don't want to see. If that makes sense, I think it does. You know, because that's a catastrophe of a life of coping. We are absent. We're absent because we're pretending to be a person. We're not real. You become who you need to become to survive. A network of coping strategies and mechanisms for control and stability. all held together in this idea of who you think you are, but it's not real. It's a partial identity, it's the outer self, a hollow shell within which there is an absence, and that absence is the truth of who you are. So part of what I've been going through is, to share as honestly as I can this healing journey. And I've been doing that for a few years now. And I've been going through a pretty fraught process to make each video, because I was so fragmented inside and so kind of broken up. And so dissociated from reality. Every video was extremely difficult, and I'd go through this process of desperately trying to understand what it was I was feeling, and then just trying repeatedly, sometimes dozens and dozens of times, trying to find the language that would unlock an understanding. And there were times when I would try and record, 50 times in 1 week before I even just let go. And then I'd wake up in the morning and just press record, and it would all come out in a different form. And I've been going through that for about 4 or 5 years. And I think, this year particularly, since I detransitioned, since I physically detransitioned, has unlocked so much. Being able to inhabit myself as a man again after a lifetime of pretending I was something else. It's fucking heartbreaking what I did to myself, why I did it, the shame and the self-hate of myself as a boy. I was so desperately terrified of being a man, and I just annihilated myself as a male, really. And to come back to that and to look at my scarred body, it's difficult. I understand why people who sort of come up against this understanding and they say, oh shit, I don't want to do this anymore, why they stay as a pretend woman, because it's difficult. Because you kind of, even I sort of, sometimes I look in the mirror, I just think, fucking hell, I just look so weird. To go back to being a pretend woman, at least everything would be sort of more coherent, but it's just not true. Not for me anyway. And when you get to a certain point, that's all that matters, really, truth. So, yeah, that process I've been going through for the last few years, making each video, going through that desperate repetitive pattern until I could find my way to understanding. I just can't do that anymore. That is a pattern of behaviour, rooted in desperation. I don't feel desperate anymore. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that what we want as traumatised children growing up into broken adults? To not feel desperate, to know peace, because what the fuck is healing if it's not finding a way to be in the world peacefully? The pain doesn't go away. You can't change the past. You can't expunge those memories. And it's difficult to live with the brokenness, but this is that strange paradox again. I think when you are prepared to fully inhabit your past fearlessly, it just becomes much more manageable. And you can be here you can be here. And it's strange because, why does no longer shying away from decades of difficulty make a person more present in the now? I think it's radical self-acceptance. Look up the definition of radical. It's a foundational transformation. That's what it means, really. It's a letting go. You're not resisting anymore. You're not resisting the conditions. You're not placing conditions on what you're prepared to accept in yourself and in this moment. You're accepting it all and just saying, yeah, this is what happened to me. This is how I lived. It's all there. And in that radical acceptance, you're no longer judging, no longer criticizing, no longer placing conditions on how you show up. And you're saying, yep, this is it. Here I am. And that absence of resistance, that absence of conditions allows you to, with compassion and kindness and tolerance and self-care, show up right now. And so, that's why I just don't feel desperate anymore, and I'm not prepared to or it doesn't feel necessary to go through the same process to make each video. So I'm just, being a lot more gentle. But also, as I let go, there is a very, very strange feeling. Like I think I said when I was walking up here a few minutes ago, I've never experienced anything like this. And I've been trying to think of a way that I could illustrate what it is I've been feeling. And I came upon a kind of image. For the last few years, I've been spiraling inwards. As when I had a breakdown a couple of years ago and I saw myself clearly, I saw the facade of a coping strategy, of an identity, and it just shattered and it didn't work anymore. I was there for the first time in my life, naked in the moment, saying, oh shit, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be. How am I going to get through the next 5 minutes? And that timeless period of terror lasted for probably 8 months, nearly a year. Look at this little creamy coloured dragon. Hello, my darling. Hello. And there's the wee boy. That period of terror lasted for nearly a year. But as my outer self dissolved, I went on a journey spiraling inwards to try and find something real, try and find something true underneath the layers of pretending that had been there my whole life, the layers of protection. And I did. It took a while, a long time actually, over a year. And I found my way to the innocence of the little boy that I was. That crushing grief that came from that journey inward, through the layers of shame and self-blame. You blame yourself. It's a way of taking control when you're in an abusive situation. Because you want to be loved. You say, okay, I will change, I will be something else. And then you deny the truth of your existence and you lead a life of pretending. So I found my way back to the little boy, the innocence. And as I've been spiraling back out into the world, I keep meeting myself. I keep meeting all my former selves in the form of loops of thought and behaviour, strategies for control. And when I meet myself in that form, I realise I don't need to be that anymore. God, I'm getting eaten alive. I don't need to do that anymore. And it's strange because there is a feeling of nothingness, a feeling of I'm no longer that anymore. And in that radical acceptance, my presence in the world is taking a different shape. I'm speaking with a different voice. I'm naming myself in a different way, in the words of David White. God, I'm getting eaten. Let's go down the hill. Oof. Look at the colour of the heather there. Oh my God, mosquitoes. Oh. Oh. So, wait. You wait there. Excuse me. Oh. So, you know, we build a life that is essentially an extension of our identity. And so if you are a deeply traumatized individual, you're going to give yourself the life you think you deserve. But it becomes familiar. It becomes a structure of stability. And it's extremely difficult to change how you show up, to heal, if you're not prepared. Good boy. If you're not prepared, here he comes. If you're not prepared to change, maybe work, maybe location, definitely friendship circles, because you can't really heal when you're meeting the resistance of your own reluctance to change on many different levels. So I see this a lot. I've seen it in my own life, and I sort of see it in the lives of other people that I know are going through this. What makes healing extremely difficult, almost impossible, is how anchored we are to the lives that we build. So can you find it within yourself to not only disassemble your identity and break the pattern that's holding you together and all the abuse and pain that you've been dealing with all your life? Can you break that pattern and the support of that pattern in your external life? Because that's what it requires. You can't just kind of change yourself and nothing else changes around you. It's a transformation of relationship. Your relationship to the world, to reality. So when you begin to heal, the world you live in shifts. Do you want it to shift? Do you want it to shift, or do you still want the little realm of illusory safety and stability that you've constructed over your life? Do you want that? Do you want to live in that world, or do you want to live in this world? Do you want to actually be here? Oh God, the midges are out in force this morning, because maybe I can see this clearly, because it's sheep. Maybe I can see this clearly because here he is. I built a world of certainty because I was traumatized from such a young age. I was born into it, really. So I knew terror before I even had the language to describe it. So my life was just a desperate attempt at stability, constantly trying to find attachment and trying to feel something other than the pain that I was running from. So I got to a point in my 50s, actually in my late 40s into my early 50s, where everything just fell apart. around me, all the structures I'd built fell apart, and the tighter I held on to them, desperately trying to kind of hold on to hope and avoid fear, everything fell apart, and I fell apart with it. So I know of what I speak. What nourishes us? I know this is very rambling, this one, but it's been a long time coming. What nourishes us? Does what nourishes us also feed our own kind of coping strategies of hope? What nourishes us? What nourishes us? Is it our plans? Is it the things in our life? The stories we tell ourselves? Or is it truth? Because I read something yesterday, actually. I'm reading Thomas Merton, Zen and the Birds of Appetite, and there's a dialogue at the end between Thomas Merton and D.T. Suzuki, who is a Zen master. And D.T. Suzuki's he's such a good boy. Come on, Ziggy! D.T. Suzuki said, knowledge is ignorance. From a Zen perspective, knowledge is ignorance. Come here. Come here. Oh, we're all getting eaten alive by midges. Come on. He's called Ziggy because he zigzags everywhere, and for every mile that we walk, he walks about 10. Yeah, so D.T. Suzuki said knowledge is ignorance. And I thought about that, and I thought, yeah, it is really. Because we don't really know anything. And, you know, I think as traumatized people, we need certainty. And so we build a life of like, I know this about myself, I know this about the world, and you make a world only as small as your fear and your own certainty. And so when you want to change and you want to shift and grow, you can't, because you're trapped in your own certainty. So any knowledge, any kind of, you know, feeling that, oh yeah, I know this, I understand this, it needs to be held very lightly. And as you kind of heal and you begin to let go of certainty and the need for certainty, and you begin to inhabit the real world, you realise how little you actually... Not only that, how little you actually need to know. So what nourishes us? Is it the illusions of our own certainty? Is it our fear, our desire? Or is it just the truth of this moment, the innocence of this moment? You know, that's why we can't really show up in the truth of this moment when we're holding the pattern of that feeling of our own corruption that comes from abuse. And we are so certain of that. How can you be here if you are showing up with that feeling of corruption in the core of you? You have to find your own innocence again, and then you know, I've said this so many times in previous videos that when I first moved up here to the Highlands, I couldn't even go into the woods because I was so convinced of my own corruption. I thought I was hurting the trees. How sad that is. I don't feel like that anymore. sorry. I know I'm going all over the place. But I'm going to publish this because it's been a long time coming and maybe I've said something useful. I want to say this as well. Thank you so much for to everybody that comments, because you inspire me to keep sharing. You know, I read a comment last night and the guy said, you know, you inspire me to keep looking at my own problems I'm trying to resolve, my own pain, and that's inspired me to kick myself in the arse a little bit and try and do this morning. There is something else I wanted to say and I can't remember what it was. He's been in the water. Oh, he might have just been going through the wet bracken. Yeah, what is it I was going to say? Wait. Oh, look at this little girl. Look at that face. Oh, you're soaking. Great. Perfect. Wait. I think they love getting wet on the walks because they just love getting dried. Oh, what was it I was going to say? Got it. Wait. Come here. Got to keep an eye on this boy because we're getting closer to home now. I think that I speak for others when I say this. You know, we live with a sense of loss. When we've experienced difficulty in childhood, like life-defining, identity-defining trauma, persistent relational trauma, we feel loss. We don't even know what that loss is. It's an abyss inside us. An abyss of grief and sorrow. And we do anything not to feel that. Always looking for attachment in the world. Sensations, drugs, alcohol, shopping, sex, whatever. Stories, most of all stories. And that's how I lived all my life. And you know, over the last few years on this channel, I thought I'd identified that loss as being the loss of tenderness, the loss of safety, the loss of the possibilities of a stolen life. But I think more than that, it's the loss of the essential truth of who we are. Because when we're born into relational trauma, we learn very quickly that there is something wrong with us. This is why the abuse is happening, because it must be our fault. There must be something wrong with us. You know, whether that is narcissistic parents, criticism, physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, isolation, all of it, it does the same thing. All does the same thing. And then we withhold ourselves. We don't occupy ourselves. We don't inhabit ourselves, truthfully. We pretend. We pretend everything is okay. We pretend we're tough. We pretend we've got this. It's okay. You're a survivor. You make a life. But do you? At what cost do you survive? The journey back to the truth of our being and authentically inhabiting ourselves, uncontrived presence, that takes time and it's heartbreaking, but that is what we lose, I think. Actually being here and being able to be found. To find ourselves and to be found in the emptiness of this moment. not the pretending of your own performance, your own compensation. I've got to do it right. If I do this, everything's going to be okay. If I do it right, my life will be fine. I will be okay. Because I am wrong, I need to fix myself. No, you don't. You need to accept yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. And so to be found in the innocence of this moment, your own innocence, your own non-judgment, that's what it's all about. That's peace. That's healing. That's the healing of the loss of yourself. Because you are here. You are already somebody. You always have been. You just need to accept that. Radical, foundational transformation. Acceptance. In the whole history of the universe, there will only ever be one of you, one of me. You are a totally unique, novel explosion of creativity in the world. Don't copy anybody else. Don't copy anybody else. Don't try and fix yourself, just accept yourself. Be that novel expression of total uniqueness. Not special, but unique. Okay, on that happy thought, I'm going to say goodbye because I'm getting close to the house. I might do a little recording at the end because these guys are going to have a dip in the river at the bottom of the hill. So I'll add that on at the end. So before I go, I want to say... So, sorry, I had to stop there. I just want to say before I go, thank you so much for being a part of this thing I do on this channel. All the compassion and love in the comments, the insight, and those people that feel a connection to what I'm saying and share in emails and comments. It just means something. And you inspire me to keep doing this. Thank you to everybody that has donated this month as well. I should put your names in the credits at the end. And thank you for all your lovely messages. And as always, if you need to talk, I'm here. I'm not a therapist or a counsellor, but I might be able to say something useful. Right, okay, I'm going to cut here and I'll record a little bit down by the river in a second. Okay, bye. Hi, here we are back again. Come on, porridge. Ziggy. Look at you. Look at you. I must be freezing. Gotta wash all the ticks off though, haven't you? Look at that face. Now that is pure truthful presence, isn't it? So, give yourself the life you deserve. Stop coping, stop pretending. It is a long and difficult path, but it is the path. Nothing else will do. That's why you're here, to become truer. That's it, that's all that really matters. Everything else flows from that. Because how you show up in the world changes. And the world meets you in a different way. You know, and you realise that everything you've given your attention to has made a world only as small as your fear. Right. I'm going in for some more coffee and some scrambled eggs on toast. And to dry these guys off first, of course. Okay, be kind to yourselves. That's the beginning of it all. See you soon.